All right, yesterday we talked about a shape. What shape did we talk about yesterday? Pyramid. And if you don't remember, you don't necessarily have to write this down, but I'm just going to jot down. For the pyramid, the surface area was, so maybe make a little note to yourself. Pyramid, the surface area was pi r squared, or wait, what am I talking about? Okay, sorry. I looked at the wrong formula. Okay, it was b plus 1/2 PL. Now, let's talk about what we know these mean. What does B stand for?
Base.
Area of the base. Yep. What does P stand for? Perimeter of the base. What does that L stand for? Slant height. Okay. So we haven't had that before, that slant height. That was new yesterday. Okay. We also talked about the volume. So for our pyramid, the volume was 1/3 B times H. And just like Lindsay said, B is still area of the base. What is H? Height. Okay. Now, that was yesterday. Today, we are talking about a cone. What is the difference between a cone and a pyramid? Yeah, the cone has a circular base. Okay? A cone has a circular base. Now, yesterday, our pyramid, one of them had a square base, one of them had a triangle base. Remember, those aren't the only two. A pyramid can have any base, size base you want, except they're straight edges, where this is circular. Okay, so let's think about our two formulas. For this, the area of a circle. What is our formula for the area of a circle? Pi times r squared. So to make our formula today, we'll replace that pi with pi r squared. Good. Now, P. P stood for perimeter. Does a circle have a perimeter? No. What do we call it instead? Circumference. What's our formula for circumference? Pi times diameter is correct, but we want to do it in terms of r. So there was the other one. Wait, 2 radius. Yeah. 2 pi r, which is what you said, but yeah, you knew what you meant. All right. Now, L, slant height. Would this have a slant height? Yeah, it's just on the side, right? So as long as it's slanted, a slant height means from the base to the point, but along the slanted edge, right? So before we write it down, if we take half of 2 pi r, what's going to happen when we take half of 2 pi r? What? 1 pi r. Yeah, half of 2. Well, yeah, you'll get half of it. So half of 2 is 1. So we'll get 1 pi r or just pi r. Okay? So meanwhile, on the other side, it will be very similar, except instead of B for the volume, we already said that is pi r squared. Okay? So if you don't have the part at the top, that's fine. I'm just showing you this formula today is very similar to what we did yesterday. It's just now we use things for circles because it is a circle base. All right, so take a look. In order to solve for my surface area on a cone, I need 2 pieces of information. What 2 pieces do I need to know? Yeah. For surface area, what do I need? The radius and the slant height. Okay. Now, what do I need for my volume? The radius and the regular height. Okay. So for what you were saying, the area of the base is right here, right? That'll give us our volume. But in order to find the surface area, we have to know our slant height. That is because if you think about it, the regular height comes through the center. We need the surface area, though. That's the edge. That's based on the slant height. Okay. All right. So, anyone need more time? Then let's examine here this cone. We have 3 pieces of information. Let's try to label them. So, what do we got? Can someone tell me what one of those, either the 3, 4, or the 5, what they represent? Okay, good. Lindsay says the 5 is the slant height. Someone besides Lindsay. Good. Yep, good. Okay. And finally, what? The height. Yep. Okay, so we have those 3 pieces of information. Now we can do the easy part, just plugging it into our calculator, right? So grab your calculator. But if we write this, so pi r squared, so pi times 3 squared, plus, then it was pi times r, which is 3, times the slant height. What was the question? Oh, okay. So pi r squared plus pi times r times the slant height. Okay. So when you type this in, you can type this all in one shot on your calculator. Just be careful if you do that. Or you can find the 2 parts and then find what it equals. I don't care. Okay. You definitely can type it in one shot as long as you type it in carefully. I didn't specify in the directions. I think it says the round and nearest, or leave it in terms of pi, but instead let's go and round the nearest tenth. I don't know why I said that. Bless you. All right. So take a moment, and then when someone thinks they have it, you can speak up. You can just put it. Tenth is great. You got it, players? What you got? Yep. And it's surface area, so grab a calculator then. So what will it be? Squared. Yep. All right. Hopefully that's what you got. If not, let me know, and I would be happy to show you how to type it in. Please don't just take Polaris' word. She did a great job, but you got to know how to type it in the calculator, because on the test you have to be able to type it in, right? Also, when we take this test Friday, please show me your work. Write this out and then type it in and solve. If you don't write this and you're typing it in the calculator and say you accidentally hit 4 instead of 3, guess what? Your answer does not look the same, and I have no clue what you did. Where if you write this out, I can give you most of your points. You just typed it in wrong, right? So this does not take very long to write. You have to type it into your calculator anyway. That way you'll have it, and I can give partial credit, okay? Also, say you did that and you accidentally put 4 here instead of 5. Well, you'll have the wrong answer, but I'll know what you did, and I'll give you partial credit, okay? I want to give you partial credit. All right, our volume, remember, is 1/3 times pi r squared times the height, which in our case, what was the height? 4. Okay. Now, how do we type 1/3 into a calculator? 1 divided by 3. So just do 1 divided by 3 times pi times 3 squared times 4. We'll round to the nearest tenth again. $37.7, and it's volume. So what does that tell us? Cubed. Good. All right. The second one here, letter B, it's almost the same, except look, now instead of a cone being like this, all they did was flip it. Nothing changes though. Height still is the same, slant height, radius. I want you guys to try that second one. Okay, today's lesson is pretty short. Okay, so we might even be able to finish before lunch. Try that second one. We'll check in just a moment. All right, so real quick, let's get 3 people to share for me. So Aaron, can you start us off? Can you identify one of these, 3, 8, or 8.5? What do we got here? 3 is our radius. Good. All right. Go ahead. Giovanni, can you tell me either the 8 or the 8.5? What is one of those? Well, what are they then? What would you label them? Think about it. So for 8, like what is that? What do you think that's called? The height. Yeah. All right. And finally, Josh, you got 8.5. What is that? Slant height. Yep. Okay. So we got our radius, our height, and our slant height. Okay. At this point, most of you did very well. A few of us had a little, I don't know, I'd call it almost a typo. Like if you forget a square or something. That's why it's important though. If you write it down, guess what? I take off half a point versus all of the points, right? So
You take off points for the label.
no, I'm not talking about the label. I'm talking about like, not to put you on stop, but Devin forgot to square on the volume. She just put 3 instead of 3 squared. So her answer was wrong. If she had written it out though, so when I looked at it, it was really easy to see what the mistake was. And so if you were doing that on a test, if she hadn't written it out, I would have been like, I don't know. Or maybe I looked at your calculator. Either way, like I could see what the mistake was, and it was really easy, a really simple mistake. So she lost a half a point instead of like the whole problem, because otherwise it just looks like a random answer. So, all right. Now try to get in the habit of putting the correct label, but that's not the main focus of this. All right, so we already did this. Lots of you did. What'd you get for the volume? Or what am I saying? I have the surface. Okay, sorry, Lindsay. You can say the volume if you want. 108.4 for the surface area. I don't know why I said volume, because I was not writing the volume. Yep, good. And then for the surface area?
75.4 cubic.
Yep, and it's millimeters cubed. Good. Thanks. All right, on the back, our cone. What do you notice? What is missing? The height. Okay, watch as I draw that in. That is our height. I need to find that. How can I find that? Anyone notice? What did I just create when I drew that line in? A 90-degree angle, which means what do we have? A right triangle here. We know the radius already. We also know the slant height. So over here, let's just draw that little right triangle. We know our slant height's 10. We know our radius is 6. I'm putting H there because I don't know what the height is. Oh, and I can also put my right angle in. Okay. Now, once we have a right triangle with a missing side, and be careful. Let me make this clear. This H, what does that H stand for? Height, not hypotenuse, right? Which one's the hypotenuse? 10. Okay, I think we all know that, but just make sure you know that. Okay, so what do I set up to solve this? Forgot? You said? How do we find the missing side of a right triangle? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And which one's the C? Well, not the height, the 10, because it's the hypotenuse, which I know sometimes we use H for that, but it's the 10. Okay, that's where we have to be careful on this. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, what is 6 squared? What is 10 squared? All right, we subtract it and we get 64. What is our answer for the height? 8.
You take the square root of it, right?
Yeah, we took the square root of 64, which is 8. And what does that mean? 8 times 8 is 64. Right? Yeah, good question. Would it be feet squared, or feet cubed? It's height, so it's just feet. All right. Someone tell me, for my surface area, what should I write to find it? What's the formula? Okay, pi times 6 squared. Good. So pi r squared plus pi r l, right? So pi times radius squared plus pi times the radius times the slant height. Thank you. All right. Meanwhile, for our volume, what do we write? One third times 6 squared. Good. All right. Anyone got the first one? That's not what I had. 301.6 is what it should have been. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I forgot. Times 8. Yeah. Good catch. All right. Don't clear your calculator. I'll look at it in 1 second. And did anyone get the volume? It's the same thing. The same thing. Okay, let's talk about this. Will this always happen? No, obviously it didn't on the front. Now, they aren't exactly the same. What's the difference? Cubed. Yep. The label. So that's feet cubed. All right, so sign in. Let's all log into Delta, please. There are, I think it's like 6 total questions or something. So get signed in, get it done. If you aren't done with the HMH, that's another option also. And let me know if you need help.